Ready for record? Okay. Well, I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission of City of Sebastopol for March 23rd, 2021. And I'd like to ask for a roll call.
Thank you, Chair Fernandez. Chair Fernandez.
Here.
Vice Chair Fitz has an excused absence. Commissioner Haug.
Here.
Commissioner Lindenbush.
Here.
Commissioner Dauch.
Here.
Commissioner Ottinger.
Here.
And Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Excellent. So we have everyone else in attendance.
Okay. Great. And we're going to start with approval of minutes of February 23rd, 2021, and ask for anyone that has any changes to that agenda. Not seeing any.
I have one change. This is Commissioner Haug.
Go ahead.
I believe on page 22, it has it has me making a comment, and it should be actually Commissioner Ottinger.
Okay.
Okay. And any other changes? Okay, ask for a motion. If anyone wants to make a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay. And second.
I second it.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll do the roll call vote. Commissioner Kelly.
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Haug.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindenbush.
Aye.
Commissioner Dauch.
Aye.
Commissioner Ottinger. I couldn't hear you, Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. And Chair Fernandez.
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are passed 6-0.
Moving on to the minutes of March 9th, 2021. Any changes or additions to that?
Once again, it's Commissioner Haug speaking, and it's a confusion between Commissioner Ottinger and I. And so on page 6, it should be me and not Commissioner Ottinger.
Thank you, Kate, for that.
And any other changes for that? Okay. You want to make a motion for approval?
I move we approve the minutes.
You get a second? I'll go ahead and second.
And I'll do the roll vote. Commissioner Kelly.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Haug. Thank you, Linda. Commissioner Haug.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindenbush.
Aye.
Commissioner Dauch.
To abstain with apologies for not making the meeting.
Commissioner Ottinger.
Aye.
And Chair Fernandez.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0-1.
Okay.
And now you all know what order you are on my screen.
Okay, good. All right. Moving on to item number 4. This is for comments from the public on items that are not on tonight's agenda. And asked to keep the comments to 3 minutes. And if you'd like to make any comments, either physically raise your hand or virtually through the Zoom app.
Okay. And we have not received any comments via email other than the one that was for the agenda item tonight.
Okay. And not seeing any for that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and go on to item number 5, statements of conflict of interest, and ask if any of the commissioners have any statement conflicts of interest. Okay, none shown. And now we can move on to regular agenda item number 6A, a public hearing, temporary use permit amendment, Head West Marketplace, project 2021-009. And I'll let Katie, you can handle this one.
Yeah, and actually, Associate Planner
Okay.
Aaron Montes is the planner for this
Okay.
item, so I'll let him present the staff report.
Right. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you for being here tonight, commissioners. So this item is an amendment request from the Head West Marketplace, which, as a brief reminder, is an outdoor market currently approved to occur on the first Saturday of each month. The market focuses on the sales of goods from local crafters, designers, artists, and small brands and local shops. So this amendment is requesting to extend the expiration date of the temporary use permit to the end of 2022. It's currently set to expire at the end of 2021. Increase the maximum number of booths to 100. It's currently limited to 60 booths. Move the event dates to the second Saturday and add the second Sunday of each month as markets. Currently, the markets are occurring the first Saturday of each month. The applicant has requested to allow live music subject to health orders in effect at the time of the events, allow alcohol sales and consumption post-pandemic, and modify the hours from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. between March through October, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. from November to December, accounting for the shorter daylight hours. So to kind of touch on each of these, or most of these items, as previously mentioned, the applicant's requesting to increase the number of vendors from 60 to 100. In discussions with the applicant, the intent is to keep the amount of vendors closer to 50 and 60 during the more restrictive tiers of the health orders, and to gradually increase up to 100 vendors as it becomes safe to do so. Staff is generally supportive of this request in that upon analyzing the sections that Barlow already approved to accommodate the market, it can easily accommodate between 97 and 121 10 by 10 stalls with between 6 and 10 feet separation between stalls. So we feel that it could still be, the market can still have safe social distancing and spacing with kind of the increased number of booths. I guess the main question for the commission to consider is the increased number of vendors coming to the market. Next item is with adding a second day to the market. So essentially the market would be Saturday and Sunday, this second Saturday and Sunday of each month. Staff's primary concern with this is potential congestion on Sundays, as both the Head West Market and the Farmers Market will be occurring. However, the Barlow will still have approximately 240 parking spaces within the campus, and will continue to use 385 Moore Street, the former concrete plant, as vendor and overflow parking, as was previously approved. Additionally, with these two markets focusing on different goods, I guess the difference between like retail goods being such as physical items and versus the farmers market being food, it's possible that there could be some beneficial customer overlap between the two markets since they're pulling from different crowds. The other concern with having it being 2-day markets is just if live music is approved, that could be 2 days of live music, which I'll touch on a little bit next. So as mentioned earlier, alcohol and live music is probably where staff's primary concerns lay. The applicant is hoping to resume live music once allowed by the health orders, and to serve single pours of wine and beer, as well as potentially allowing, I guess, sales of bottles in the future. However, I guess staff does have some concerns relating to this. In particular, I guess the biggest issue is determining when these items are allowed. It's a bit confusing, and when staff initially reviewed this application, we were in the purple tier from the health orders, and since then we've shifted to the red tier. So when the shift happened, I reached out to environmental health to try to figure out, are these items allowed? Is it not allowed? What's happening? And in short, it's not an easy answer. I reached out to them. It took about a day and a half, 2 days to get an answer, and they had to run up to the regional boards for confirmation. And part of the challenge here is that markets like these do not fit cleanly in any of the actual categories for the tiering lists. So with that, and in discussions with environmental health, we felt that it was probably safest to continue prohibiting alcohol and live music at this time, just because we don't want the applicant to, they're reading it, they're saying concert venues are open, but there may be specific regulations such as only with assigned seating and no, moving around, so essentially no concession sales. Essentially, there's a lot of confusion with this, and it's not necessarily clear, and we want to avoid any potential violations of the health orders, which could result in unsafe situations. However, with that said, we do want to recognize that a handful of these conditions of approval, which we previously put into this use permit, are in effect solely due to the pandemic, specifically in mind conditions 9 through 13. And with that said, I would request that the commission delegate future amendments of the what staff recommended 9 through 13 to staff, so that in the future, as the health orders are revised and updated, we could review and process these at a staff level if the commission feels comfortable with that. Additionally, if there's any other conditions that the commission sees comfortable delegating to staff, we could also add kind of language in there so that staff can modify those in the future as well. So overall, in my conclusion recommendation, staff is supportive of the market and is supportive of the amendment requests, specifically to extend the expiration of the market, increase the maximum number of booths to 100 vendors, move the event dates to the second Saturday and Sunday of each month, as well as the modified hours from 11 to 5 from March to October and 10 to 4 from November to December. However, with that said, staff is not supportive of removing the conditions of approving live music and the sale of alcohol and food within the market. However, as I recently mentioned, staff would like to recommend to the commission allowing conditions of approval, or allowing specific conditions of approval to be amended at a staff level, specifically any that are relating to COVID-19 restrictions. So that would conclude staff's report. If you have any questions to me, please let me know.
Okay. And any questions of staff from commission? Okay, no questions on that.
Sorry, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has staff consulted with or heard from the farmers market in respect to the how the hours, the Sunday hours on this market may impact them?
We have not reached out to this farmers market regarding the added day and the hours.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So if we say took your recommendation to allow staff to deal with some of these conditions, is there how would you monitor, how would you decide what the levels, what criteria? I'm just wondering, would you use? I know it's kind of nothing real specific right now, but just curious on that.
So I'll start with this one, and Carrie, you're more than welcome to take over at any point. But when the staff amendment would come in, we would route it to environmental health. We would consult with them, and so like with this specific application, we consulted with environmental health and tried to find what both they and planning staff felt comfortable with in terms of, we discussed it, if we remove the restrictions altogether, essentially Jimmy would be responsible for figuring out if live music or alcohol is allowed or not allowed for each market. Whereas if an amendment's requested, we would be consulting directly with environmental health, getting their clearance. We'd be forming the conditions of approval with them, as I did with this current report. So essentially with the health order ones, we would like to really work with our peers in the county and try to make it as safe as possible.
Yeah, and I can just add, I think in terms of the commission, what you should be looking at is thinking about is if COVID, or once COVID isn't an issue, if COVID wasn't an issue, would you want to allow this or not as part of the use permit? And then what we're suggesting is the restrictions need to be in place at this time because of COVID. We can work on whether or not, at what point in time certain things are allowed. And I have actually, since Alan and I last spoke about this project and the staff report came out, I sit on 2 meetings every week that are completely related to COVID and restrictions and tiers and all that other fun stuff. And we specifically had one with county council, and we're asking them, because a lot of the tier guidance is for business sectors and not for things like park and rec, and then they don't end up getting down to things like outdoor festivals and things like that. So we did have, and actually it was someone from the deputy director of the Department of Public Health, as well as county council on my call, specifically about the live music. It is quite restrictive right now, and will likely be for not just the red tier, but the other tiers as well. Right now, the guidance says unless you have a dedicated seating or can provide dedicated seating. And so what they're really thinking about is things like the Greek Theater in Berkeley, or an amphitheater that has fixed seating, or Shoreline Amphitheater, something like that has fixed seating, where you can space people appropriately and leave blank seats and have the seating. They are not allowing anything that is really, if you think about it, encouraging people to gather. And unfortunately, that does include live music at markets, outdoor festivals, things like that at this time. And will continue to do so. Frankly, I was asking also because of the Peacetown concert. Folks are anxious as well, and unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation we're in right now. But sorry, I digressed a little bit. But Chair Fernandez, to go back, it's pretty complex, and so what we're suggesting is that we have these conditions 9 through 13 or 14 that are related to COVID, but for the commission to let us know what you would like to allow. And then when it is allowed with COVID guidance, we can work with the applicant and county health on that.
Okay, yeah, and that does help to think of it as without those conditions, what we would, how we would approach that. And then as far as those conditions, is that something that you would let the applicant know, or does the applicant have to come and request those be moved, or combination? How would those be?
That's a good question. I don't think we have the capacity to reach out. Of course, once I get more guidance, I'm happy to send it to Jimmy and the Barlow folks. So because the Barlow has a lot of other outdoor activities as well related to live music and things like that. So I can certainly send it if we get more guidance or more clarity on that, as we've requested. Send that on to Yolanda, and I certainly send guidance like that on every week to Chamber and Downtown Association similarly. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're probably monitoring as well, but it would be at least my desire that they, if let them know, kind of deal. So, okay. Other questions of staff? Yes, go ahead, Kath.
Thank you. My question is whether the city or staff or anyone has been to the event and confirmed that the event is operating appropriately for COVID conditions, and have observed that it looks safe to them. I mean, how is this monitored?
Sure. So I don't know if any of the commissioners wanted to speak up. I didn't want to, but I have been past it after it first opened. Because of my own need for safety precautions, I didn't go into the market, but I did go to the edge and looked at and made sure the signage was up and the stations and things like that. And they were well observed, just from what I could see.
Thank you.
The spacing of the booths and everything like that. And of course, our police also, if they were to get a call to come out, would know what's going on too.
So there haven't been any reports of anything amiss at this point?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Luke.
I'll just add to
Let
that.
me raise my hand next.
After you, Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, go ahead, Linda. Sorry, Luke.
Okay, around the music is, and this is probably for the applicant, does he envision that there's a fixed place where music is playing, or is there going to be several places where the music's going to be playing?
Hi, Linda, and to everyone. I'll just take a second just to say hi and welcome. I appreciate you having me back and looking at 2021. In regards to live music, I think this kind of brings up a good moment to just kind of clarify the need for musicians to come back into performing. As Head West started and presented for last year for 2020, it was about bringing back revitalization to the local economy, specifically in Sonoma County and the North Bay and the city of Sebastopol. And we did some amazing work in 2020, and we will continue to do so in 2021. And so right now we're in this moment of, okay, we have this momentum with local small businesses, but now how do we get dollars back into the pockets of our local musicians and creatives? I've done a little bit of that through my capacity through photography and videography and having them be part of the Head West journey. But now I'm kind of coming here to ask for, I guess, to kind of plead my case about bringing live music back starting in April, and also separating, if we need to separate live music and alcohol. Alcohol, I understand, is definitely something that can contribute to crowd gathering and a little bit of, I guess, a little bit more of a spirited crowd. But whenever we talk about live music, we're talking about live music in the capacity of acoustic, easy listening, something that isn't, that wouldn't provoke crowd gathering or dancing or the need to congregate, as the space at the Barlow at the intersections of McKinley and Pink Lady Court really doesn't even allow that type of gathering in and of itself, versus venues such as the Greek Theater and some other places that would kind of contribute to that type of motivation, or like behavior motivation. In my answer to you, Linda, it would be a fixed space. There's actually an apron at the corner of McKinley and Pink Lady Court that is set back at least 10 to 20 feet away from anyone that would be walking past, so that there would be ample space between someone that is unmasked live music while they're on stage, and then any type of passerbys that would be masked, obviously, because that's the health and safety measure that we've taken for the marketplace itself. And then obviously the musicians would be adhering to all health and safety guidelines and measures, being masked up whenever they were to leave the stage. So yeah, that's kind of my plea to you as the Planning Commission as a whole. I've been privileged to be able to partner with Flatbed Music Festival that was supposed to take place in 2020 and launch in the city of Sebastopol as well. And sadly, a lot of those musicians within that organization lost out and has since seen a lot of despair whenever it comes to live music and engagements kind of being wiped away from their calendar starting on in March up until now. So I think if any time is a good time to kind of show these, to start the momentum, to start the conversation, to get live musicians back onto the quote unquote stage, but in a smaller capacity that's controlled, as well as safely regulated. I think this can be a little bit of a pioneering effort in kind of blazing that trail, or reblazing that trail, I should say. So hopefully that's, kind of helps clarify my need and a little bit of a push from my end to get these creatives and musicians back into the limelight where they belong, and do it in a safe and healthy way too, under the guidance of this group.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Before we ask questions of Jimmy, Commissioner Lindenbush, did you have another staff question?
No, I can save it for commissioner comment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And Jimmy, just my, so what is the reason to come and ask for continuation to 2022 versus wait until the year end? Is there, what's your reasoning for that?
I think with the continuation, it's just to really ensure that we're kind of creating longevity in the application process. To be very transparent, the application process, both from a time-consuming and a financial perspective, is very burdensome on small community organizations like myself. You know, the cost of entry and the barrier of entry right now seems to be quite high. So I think from that standpoint, making sure that we're able to, you know, for lack of better words, lock in some kind of trust and partnership with the city, so that we can kind of continue this without kind of revisiting the same things over and over again, unless obviously there's major amendments to be discussed. And, you know, Alan's done an amazing job at helping facilitate some of those amendments, just like we're doing now with expanding into 2 dates, and then also some of these extra things under the kind of cloak of the pandemic.
And how many events have you had to date?
For none for 2021. April will start the kind of marketplace, outdoor marketplace season, just because the weather in the Bay, as we know, gets a little crazy January through March. But 2020, it was March happened, and then a pause until July, and July through December.
Okay, and how did things go with based on restrictions?
Yeah, to recap, I think things went very, very well. You know, I think for myself, I take a lot of pride on, you know, the work that I do, but also the attention to detail as it relates to the well-being of both the participant base as well as the collective patrons and shoppers and residents within the city, the county, and kind of the Bay that are coming out to show their support. Each marketplace date was filled to capacity whenever it comes to booths, which was obviously a show of demand. I think my wait list for every marketplace date was at least 50 to 100 participant deep, which again kind of rings true that we have such a entrepreneurial spirit that grows in the Bay that is really looking for space. And whenever I talk about pioneering efforts as it relates to bringing back live music, I think with the help of the Barlow and the city, we were able to really pioneer outdoor retail marketplaces in the Bay Area, as Head West was really the only retail marketplace for folks to come and shop in a safe and healthy way within all the surrounding counties. So I think with that, the exposure for Head West was incredible. So we were able to see a growth there, which was fantastic. So I think to kind of sum it up, no outstanding negative feedback. Everything was very positively well received by both the tenants, the Barlow itself. I think it was kind of a resounding collective effort to get things where they needed to be in terms of health and safety and the guidance of this group as well. And there were no complaints, which was fantastic. And you know, I think that's something to be very, very proud of.
And I believe and Carrie, if you might comment on this as well. I believe we talked about trying to maybe include as many local vendors as possible. Curious as to how the makeup of the vendors have been and how do you foresee them going forward? I know that you had indicated, you know, you've got a group that you work with, and you know, I know that how, you know, you prefer of course working with them as well. but if there's any action or anything that you've done to try to have as many local vendors as we can as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Head West in itself, very much prides itself on being a diverse, inclusive, and equitable space for creatives. And I think we touched on that last year through the racial uprising with the Black Lives Matter movement, and making sure that we cast a wide net in terms of an applicant pool. And I think that went hand in hand with what Head West has always been about, is creating affordable and accessible space for all to come at no cost. So I think with now going into 2021, I've seen personally, because for the most part, I'm a one human show, I've seen the applicant roster and network expand quite a bit. And I think to layer on top of that, with so many residents of the Bay Area, and I guess just the world in general, kind of staying at home, a lot of those ideas and goals and aspirations of being solo entrepreneurs and small business owners have really taken shape. So in the context of, I guess, growth, I've seen at least 50% new applicants from the year past. And I will kind of keep this top of mind, as each marketplace is different. As my applicant roster going into 2020 was 1,200 creatives deep. So every marketplace in itself was actually something a little bit different. The number of applicants that were local to the North Bay hovered, between 50 and maybe 65%, but now we're looking at more upwards towards 75, which again kind of ties with Head West's mission to make sure that there are local platforms that residents are able to access in affordable and accessible way. So all in all, very, very good numbers, and something that I've been able to target through hyper-local advertising and promoting, partnering with the North Bay Bohemian, East Bay Express, which obviously is a little bit further down, but still drawing a really great crowd. And then also just through organic word of mouth, through social media, Instagram, Facebook, and the like. So all in all, a really great trajectory.
And the last question is, so, and I'm assuming that having 2 days versus one for vendors is probably preferred, because they can, set up and have more opportunity to, for their sales and so forth. Right. Is that kind of logic behind that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of the mix. I think with having 2 days now per month gives the opportunity for more creatives to be a part of Head West. It also allows the residents of Sonoma County to come and patron Head West on 2 different days and not have to feel pressured on coming on one day or the next. Saturdays tend to be more of a local crowd. Sundays and other venues for Head West seem to be a little bit more of a road trip kind of crowd. So I think that allows for kind of maximum exposure and maximum support on both sides of, participants, vendors, as well as patrons or shoppers. Also, this allows for, with the applicant base expanding and growing as it has over the last 12 months even, it allows more applicants to access this type of space to connect and sell with potential new customers.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Of course, thank you.
And Yolanda, did you want to say anything?
No, nothing other than, thanks again for considering this new amendment to Head West. It's been such a great pleasure working with them and really seeing people come out to in support of the market. In fact, Head West was awarded one of the Best of Bohemian Awards, which we were really excited about, and really goes to show that the community is enjoying it, and finding it a safe place to be. I think I second what Jimmy had mentioned about the music. I understand that there are concerns related to health and safety, and you know, as Jimmy explained, the intention with music is to really just help provide kind of a relaxing atmosphere, and certainly not a concert series. It's not like some of the prior events where music really has been the focus. But I think it adds something very special to the marketplace and really holds the door open for people to participate. So we're hoping that that could be something that is considered and discussed amongst the commission.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's no other questions for the applicant, I was going to open public comment, or if we have any emails or correspondence from public comments.
So I'll just kind of reiterate, the only public comment we've received to date has been the letter that Carrie forwarded to you earlier this week.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe last week.
Okay, and I don't see any other members of the public here. So we'll open and close public comment. And bring it back to the commission for any other questions of staff, and or if you have comments you'd like to make at this point. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Dodge.
I have a question of staff. Broadly speaking, I understand the sentiment that staff has about wanting to be in compliance with county guidelines around live music and food and alcohol. But if we allow conditions 9 through 12 to be a administrative change, what would that process look like if the applicant was wanting to appeal, essentially, or disagreed with your findings and wanted to take further action? Would that go to commission and then council, or straight to council?
It would come to the commission first. And any staff decision that is related to planning comes to the planning commission first.
That's kind of what I thought. I just wanted to kind of understand that they would have that recourse as a way of, because I think that way we're not shortcutting the process. We're just, well, we are perhaps making the process more efficient, but not disallowing the applicant a part of the process that they could utilize if they wish.
Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, well, I'd like to hear what fellow commissioners have to say and comments as we go forward. So go ahead, Kathy.
I'm in support of the applicant's requests and the staff's recommendation, particularly looking at COVID as it progresses or to its end. And I feel comfortable with that.
Okay. Good. Commissioner Lindbush.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you to staff, Alan, for really looking at this application through all of the different waves of COVID with the due diligence that I think this pandemic requires of us in thinking about how to preserve the balance of public health and economic development. So thank you very much for that. And I do want to note that I went to the market twice. I was skeptical at first about how mask adherence and everything was going to go. I went and I was very, very pleasantly surprised, or maybe not surprised, but pleased to see that there was strong mask adherence. The first time I went was in August on one of the days when I think it was about 115 degrees. And just seeing the vendors really being very careful about their mask usage, even though everybody was taking sips of water every 30 seconds or so, was very impressive and diligent. And I also went the day that the presidential election was called, a time where there was much dancing and congregation and things in the streets. And was also happy to see people doing it really safely and enjoying the market. So, and that has been in large part thanks to staff and the diligence that has been provided in making sure that this can proceed and this can be a new part of our community, but that it can be done safely. I agree as well with the recommendations of staff for the most part this time around. I do think it might be worth revisiting again, and as one of the sort of COVID related provisions, Exhibit B, Condition 8, which looks at marketing. Targeted marketing shall be geographically limited to Sonoma and Marin counties. I think it could be helpful to revisit that as more counties are moving toward kind of the orange tier and tier system. Just where we're at, I think it makes sense to have that either be conditioned in some way or just eliminated. I also am supportive of getting to live music as soon as it makes sense with county environmental health and leaving it to staff as ministerial approval, but food and alcohol sales as well whenever it's feasible. And I also have no problem with multiple fairs happening at the same time. The time that I went in November, there was also a craft fair that was happening in the town square, and I think it worked very well, and there were people going to both, and overall it seemed very safe. So thank you again to the staff and the applicant. Sorry for the dramatic lighting. I think I gave daylight savings time a little too much credit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments and for your on the spot live comments. Linda?
I think my only concern was the sound amplification, and I think it's a well-placed area for the sound. It's worked before for the public markets there, and I think this is pretty exciting, and can't wait. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hogg?
I feel that this is a wonderful partnership between the city and entrepreneurial network. I think it provides a lot of opportunity for many different people, which I think is really needed at this moment and could be a launching pad for people to pursue different small and local small business, which is wonderful and also very difficult to do in the Bay Area because retail space is so expensive and hard to come by. I 100% support the live music portion of this. I think people need live music now more than ever. And I'm sure people would be very grateful to have access to that. I don't believe that live music, in this capacity poses any health threat. I would be more concerned about alcohol. And as far as I can tell, that is in terms of spreading COVID seems much more likely to pose a threat. But I'm assuming that the city will proceed with caution. And it seems like everything thus far has worked out really well, given the fact that this was a totally unprecedented situation. So I commend the staff for that. And that's my general comment. And that's it. Thank you for bringing this to Sebastopol, and thank you to staff for helping making this possible.
Thank you. And I pretty much echo the rest of the comments. I really appreciate staff taking the initiative to kind of cut through the red tape instead of having to come back and have to deal with all this. I think it makes great idea to have it looked at administratively, and that would include the marketing that Commissioner Lindenbush brought up. I'd say either eliminate it or make that part of the conditions administrative can decide. I mean, I don't know how you actually monitor that anyway, but I'd be okay with that. And I know that just from the last time, and appreciate Jibby, your diligence and detail and how you handle things, and you can tell it is something of a pride for you. It's not just you're putting on an event; it's you want it to reflect well, and shows that you care. So I appreciate that as well. And having said that, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. And is there any other further discussion or comments? Yes, go ahead, Kat.
So your motion includes condition number 8, along with conditions 9 through 13.
Yes, to have it be administratively looked at.
Yes.
And let's see, I had one other question. And you said police services didn't have any issues with that and seemed to be fine traffic wise.
So the application was routed to police and public works. No one expressed any outright concerns. Planning just, we identified it as a potential concern and wanted to present it to the commission.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we have a motion, a second. Call for the question.
I will do that. I do want to make one comment just regarding the live music, because I want to be clear that this is not up to the city or the planning commission in terms of whether or not when live music can be allowed. It will be up to the county health orders, which we are following. And Jimmy, I could certainly with you or Yolanda in terms of that. One note that in the interim, until the live music isn't allowed for your particular event, I will note that there are certain allowances for restaurants to do that. So there may be a way to work with a restaurant like the Woodford or something, having an outdoor musician, just to try to create some of that atmosphere that I understand. Totally understandable that you're trying to create, but we can talk about that offline, but it may be partnering with one of the many restaurants in the borough may be helpful for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I would encourage that. I think it's a good way to kind of interim make the change because it's always appreciated. Right.
And the state does have industry guidance on all of those restrictions for restaurants, but they did, they didn't allow it for quite a while, but they are under the red tier allowing that. So. Okay, I will call the roll call. Commissioner Kelly.
So, can I just make one more comment for you, Cora? I alluded to it with my question earlier on. I do think there's something. Jimmy, you spoke to this a little bit, I think, but with adding the Sunday event, it is, I was concerned whether or not that would draw or detract from the farmers market that goes on Sunday. Having given it a bit of thought and read through the application, seeing that Sundays would be at 11 generally, I think the farmers market is typically a earlier in the day activity and is wrapping up by midday to late lunchtime. But I think it's important to acknowledge that that is was a bit of a concern as I first read this, but I'm satisfied that the symbiotic nature of the two events will probably outweigh the negatives, especially with regard to the start times.
And I just, you remind me of my other comment that I forgot about. The have anybody from the movie theater there, because there's always a concern about their parking situation, their parking lot, people parking there. I don't know if they're aware of it or if we've had any comments from them.
So from a staff perspective, and Carrie, if you know anything more than I do, chime in. But from planning staff, I have not received any complaints or concerns from the movie theater parking lot. It could be that, since the market's been happening since COVID, they haven't been showing movies, but I haven't heard anything.
Okay, I just would remind you to kind of be sensitive of that. I don't know if that's, I think that's part of it. Is that part of anywhere the conditions? Because
so that I don't, Ellen, I don't know if I know in the past we have certainly included conditions that the cinema parking lot is a private lot and cannot be used. I do know that there have been a couple of use permits in the past where that has where they have commented on, to make sure that that wasn't part of the plan. And so certainly, and Yolanda's here from the Barlow, I think they've been working on, directing people to other parking in the Barlow. And I believe part of their use for this is that the vendors are using the lot on Morris Street, which is the gravel area where the old batch plant was, with the restrictions that are in the conditions, to help with that, surge parking. We can help manage the parking.
Okay, if it's with the commission's, they don't, with their approval, I'd like to maybe include that, modify my motion to include that kind of a stipulation, but just kind of as a reminder about that, just to make sure that that's taken care of.
So Chair Fernandez, are you wanting to include a condition that
Yeah, what you said, parking lot not being used, yeah, that it's a private
yeah,
lot.
that's okay.
Yeah.
That signage be used and
Yeah.
to notify people that
Okay.
that
And
the
Luke,
private
there with
lots cannot be
second?
used.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And sorry, Zach, you had another comment?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now we're ready.
Thank you, Chair Fernandez. Commissioner Kelly,
Yes, with the modifications.
Commissioner Howard,
Aye.
Commissioner Dauch,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindenbush,
Aye.
Commissioner Ottinger,
Aye.
and Chair Fernandez.
Aye,
Okay, so that passes 6-0. Thank you.
great. Thank you, Jimmy. Best of luck and appreciate you being here, bringing this to our community.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hopefully I see you out there.
Thanks. Okay. We'll move on to item number 7, subcommittee updates. Go ahead, Kathy.
I'll report that the Park Improvement Committee I am meeting with Jim Corbett tomorrow at 10 at the stage. If anyone wants to come in here, I just want to document well what he's interested in doing and to see how we can work together with that. And then our next step is to work with the committee to confirm the items that we'd like to include in a work day, if it's possible, and to check with Dante on City Public Works to see what else they might need, and then to look forward to that at, again, some point in the future. I don't think we can have a big event right now. And I think that's it. Unless Carrie, did you talk with the Public Arts Committee at all? I mean, I'm happy to wait on that. I'd rather wait till their plate is not so full before we bring up another idea.
Yeah, I have not. I actually have a potential site visit for the Nedcon sculpture to see if that needs to go back to the committee on their agenda next month. So once we know that, I'll be able to figure out the agenda. But so I will work with you, Kathy, and let you know.
Okay.
Once we know if that needs to be on the agenda. I don't think there's going to be anywhere to fit another thing on. So.
Okay. I'm happy to be on hold until they're ready to think about it. I'd rather do that than rush it when they have other things on their mind.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other subcommittee reports at this time? Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
So Climate Action Committee report back. Tomorrow we have our meeting, which will primarily be going over a revision to the Climate Action Plan and just continued work with the working groups. I realized that I had alluded to the working groups previously, but I didn't give a list of them. So I wanted to go ahead and do that just so commissioners have an overview sense of what we're working on. So the working groups are funding, research, outreach and education, energy and microgrids, transportation, models and metrics, the climate action plan, sequestration, and social equity. So I would advise any commissioners who are interested in passing information on to any of those subcommittees or working groups rather to email Alan and he will be able to forward those on. We're trying to get as many resources together as we possibly can. And I met with the research working group today, which is myself, Councilmember Rich, and Vice Mayor Gurney. And we discussed a bit just getting as much information together as possible to help guide the work of the Climate Action Committee. So if you have anything that has to do with, in particular, anything relating to planning and environmental issues historically that the city has done, that's one project that we're working on. So if you have any information that you think would be helpful for us, just looking at the history of Sebastopol overall, I know we have a ton of institutional memory in this group and would love your feedback in any way that it's helpful. So with that, I'll leave it there. There's definitely a lot going on. The working groups are they cover a lot of ground for a pretty small committee, but we have a lot of determination and some great skill sets, and it's really exciting to see everybody leveraging their connections throughout the community to make this Climate Action Committee really be one of action. So really affirming to meet with the council members on board with that group today as well, and overall just really looking forward to it. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I do appreciate being referred to as institutional memories instead of just like older. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. There's I don't think do I have any other committee reports. Move on to planning director's report unless anybody has questions of the subcommittees. Okay.
Okay, so my planning director report I know was very long last time with a long list of things going on in the city. It'll be a little bit briefer tonight. I think the main item that I wanted to bring back to this was the council's discussion on the planning commission composition. They reviewed that at a very late hour at their last city council meeting, and I want to thank Chair Fernandez for being there to represent the planning commission as a liaison. I think they found that helpful, asking some questions and having Everett there to elaborate on some of the points and the concerns that the commission had. The council did accept almost all of the commission suggestions, recommendations. So I'll just go through them and then go in a little bit more detail. They did agree to reduce the commission size to 7 by eliminating the alternate. They also wanted to, there was some discussion, and I think it was 3 of the 5 were open to reducing it to 5. When they got to the actual action vote, they decided that, let's do it to 7 for now. They recognized the commission's concerns regarding how the transition to 5 would happen through attrition while still getting new members in. But they directed us to actually revisit this the potential in 1 year to see how it's functioning with 7 and see if the commission still feels that 5 would be an appropriate number. Since there's not a lot of terms coming due before then, it still gives time to, if the commission determines and the council determines to go to 5, there's still time to work through what that would look like in terms of composition with the business owners and the residents, non-residents, and all of that. They did note that in terms of appointing the alternate versus an open seat, that they have a standard process when there's an open seat. And so they did want to follow that, which was free advertising, and encourage Commissioner Howard to apply for that. I did discuss with them or present to them that Commissioner Howard was hoping to just move into that because of the length of term that she was looking at, but they didn't want to vary from their, whenever there's a vacancy, they have a set process and they wanted to follow that. So that will be advertised shortly. In terms of the composition, they fully agreed that a majority should always be residents, and so right now that's 4. They also agreed with the commission's direction to do 2 business owners and 1 up to 2 business owners and up to 1 outside city limits resident. And then in terms of geography, they discussed this and they actually felt it did not need to come back to you as a group. They were pretty clear. There's 2 or 3 different ways they would like to see sort of mapped out, but all based on some sort of buffer, either city limits buffered out 1 or 2 miles. They wanted to see a couple of different distances, 1 to 3 miles. I believe the commission had talked about, had looked at what 3 miles would look like. Cloverdale uses 2 miles. So they wanted either that based on the city limits or based on centered at Jewel and Bodega, what that would look like. And so they asked staff to create those maps and come back to them with that, and then they'll go from there in terms of the direction. And they found a lot of the same issues that you all did with the other metrics like school districts and zip codes and all that other kind of stuff. And I think that's actually it for my updates this week.
I'd like to follow on that since I was at the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure why the feeling was that we stay at 7 and see how it goes. I think we knew how it goes. I mean, we've done that before. I was very disappointed that they did not consider appointing Commissioner Hogg to that position. I know that they want to follow standard process, but this is not standard process of having an alternate. And I just remember when it was brought to the commission of bringing an alternate, one of the points was that if a commissioner seat becomes vacant, that the alternate can then move into that position, and they have the experience and they already have the knowledge, and then that they would appoint another alternate. So I just kind of felt that that was really not really necessary. They, you know, so unfortunately, you know, they're going to spend their time going through interviews, the staff's time to, you know, advertise that spot and position and go through all of that. And I did express to them that I thought Commissioner Hogg been doing a great job. She's had a great attendance and been very proactive in the things that we've done. So I just, like I said, I was unfortunate that they chose that, and also did not take our advice on reducing the number. They did ask for our opinion on that part of it. And I don't believe they kind of pretty much ignored the question of what happens when somebody moves out of the area, which I brought up to them, but I don't think that was really discussed, or they, I think, figured, well, we'll figure that out down the road. So anyway, sorry, Kate, and I just want to tell you, appreciate you being on the commission, and I think you've done a great job.
Yeah, and I do want to note they actually were hoping they could get Kate to apply and give them the extra time. I think when counselor started. Sorry, Kathy?
I wanted to ask or to confirm, because I thought that they were considering grandfathering in that alternate position through the term. Is that true, or is that ending?
No, they decided to eliminate the position because there was a vacancy that person could still go forward with if they chose.
So they didn't grandfather the position through Kate's term.
Correct. Yeah, so in a few months' time, we will have 7 commissioners. I will note that does not take a change to the ordinance. The other changes do take modifications to the ordinance. So I think it's due to work that will take me a little bit to get the geography maps back to the council. But once they've looked at those, what they want the geography to be, then we'll be able to draft the language, modify the language of the ordinance appropriately, and we'll bring that to the commission for review. And so if there are, our thoughts about how to deal with what happens if someone moves from out of town, but still would qualify for one of the other out of town seats, how to handle that.
Yeah, I think if there was an opening, I think they mentioned that that person could move to that position, but I don't know if they would, again, go through that standard process or not.
Right, they didn't make any specific decision on that particular one.
I just wanted to chime in. I appreciate everyone's support. Thank you, Chair Fernandez. And I just wanted to say that tonight will be my last meeting with the commission because my position's been terminated and I'm actually not a commissioner. And so I wanted just to say that I really enjoyed serving on the commission. I really appreciate all the work that everyone's doing. I really enjoyed my time working with Chair Fernandez and Commissioner Ottinger on the Ives Park Subcommittee. And when I thought my term was going to be fulfilled to its end date, I had organized several developer presentations because I was very much interested in how developments come to fruition in terms of what makes affordable family housing. How do you use religious organizations, land? How do you partner with churches to make developments? How do you convert something like Redwood Marketplace from a single-story commercial space into a mixed-use residential commercial space? And questions like that. So I'm going to let Chair Fernandez and Director Swanstrom decide how they want to handle that, since the commission will be changing its makeup, and but you guys can just let me know. But anyway, I really enjoyed serving with everyone. And it was an amazing year that we all spent together. And I'm glad that we were able to do some really positive work. And despite the kind of turmoil and unfavorable conditions that we all faced. So thank you for that opportunity. And I look forward to seeing you on the street, hopefully at some point when the pandemic's over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will note we are proceeding with the very nice set of presenters that Commissioner Haug has put together. So the next couple meetings will have at least that, if not another item on the agenda. And in fact, we're creating a little flyer for them too, because we had a number of people at the last, the co-housing presentation. And so we are putting together, it's almost done, another flyer for those talks, so that we can send out to those. We have about 80 people on our email list who are interested in housing issues from our Raise the Roof housing fair a couple years ago and whatnot. And so, Kate, you're certainly welcome to join us, if not at the virtual dais, as you say, but in our little Brady Bunch that we have here.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we have going for us is that we, in our RENA numbers, we can do market rate housing, because that is part of it. So I think that that would make it attractive to do mixed income housing, because I'm assuming we're probably one of the few places that has, in our actual RENA numbers, has market rate housing available.
Oh, you're muted, Carrie.
Thank you, Chair. So everyone does get assigned numbers in every category, but we do actually have a number. I think we have, Ellen just submitted a report today to HCD, so you can probably tell us completely, but I believe we have 16 or 20 in the cycle of market rate units that are sort of still in our target to meeting our target number. And of course, you can always build more, but it is in some ways, it's a more difficult piece at this point. And then I would also note, and I'll let Kathy coordinate with you appropriately, but as a subcommittee, that is open to having members of the public as well. So for the Ives Park subcommittee, if you want to continue work on that, our public art committee has done the same thing, where the council asked if they wanted to increase the size of the PAC, and they respectfully returned to council and said, no, we like the number works well. We need the continuity, and that's an issue if we have too many people, but we'd be happy to have volunteers. We have and they use a large number of subcommittees for their work. So they have the potential for non-members on their subcommittees as well. So I will just put that out there, and I'll let Kate and Kathy move forward as they so choose.
Thank you.
And yeah, I do want to express my appreciation for Kate, both as a commissioner, as a subcommittee member on Ives Park, pushing some of those items forward, and also with organizing the upcoming talks. It's been a great effort that helps supplement staff in a way that we could not have done.
you.
Anybody else have any other comments on this subject? Do you want to give us any updates on any council items coming up? And also,
Sorry.
I was thinking if there's some way to either on the agenda or maybe just make a note of it to always bring up whoever the liaisons are, just so we can all kind of jog our memories.
Thank you. I believe Commissioner Kelly is the liaison right now, although she generally has conflicts. So I will, actually, we don't, right now in April, I'm not necessarily anticipating anything that needs a planning commission liaison. We will have a April 20th, we will have a housing law presentation. It's basically the same presentation that Myers-Nave gave to this group about a year or so ago. Actually, it was less than a year because it was on Zoom. So I think it was last April or so. So they'll be giving a presentation to council on April 20th. Additionally, we'll be doing the level of service report at that meeting as well. And then, of course, the next meeting that generally comes after it's presented to council, it usually comes to planning commission. So you'll have that at your May meeting. And then the development impact fee hearing is currently tentatively scheduled for the first meeting in May. And so that we will want a liaison, and I will look at who that is actually. And I think those are the items of interest for the, and then the Nedcon sculpture update for the site will be, I believe it'll be one of the meetings in April. That's actually the site meeting I have Kathy on Thursday to see if it needs to go back to PAC for the Public Art Committee first or not. If not, it'll be on the April 6th agenda.
Good. Thank you for that. Anybody have any questions or comment for planning director's report? Okay. All right. Well, you know, if I don't adjourn the meeting, Kate, you'll still stay on indefinitely, but I guess I do need to adjourn it. So anyway, thank you again for your service, and it's not goodbye, and it's not like you're moving away, hopefully, but hopefully we'll be able to work together in other ways. And but again, just really appreciate all the efforts that you put in here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
And
on that,
just one note, it does look like for May, the commission liaison is Commissioner Douch, with Commissioner Ottinger as the alternate for that.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for that. Okay, everyone, stay safe and go get vaccinated when it's your turn. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, Kate.
And Carrie, I'll stay on for a sec if you need to go over anything. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, long day.
Hey, yeah.
Did you need anything from us, or did you want to have a private conversation?